We're always trying to measure how well our communities are doing, right? But what if we've been using the wrong ruler this whole time? Today, we're going to dive into a totally new way of looking at what makes a community and, honestly, what makes a person truly thrive. It's about moving past just dollars and cents and getting to the very heart of how we actually live. So let me just ask you this. If you had to take the temperature of your own city or neighborhood, how would you do it? What's the one thing you'd look at to know if it's really healthy, if it's resilient? For, decades now, the go-to answer has been a single number tied to economics. We look at GDP, gross domestic product. It's simple, it's a clear number, and it tells us how busy the economy is. But you have to ask, is busy really the same thing as healthy? Yeah, because we all know that's not the whole picture, right? Our lives are this rich, complicated mix of family, culture, our own personal needs, professional goals, you name it. A single economic number just can't capture all of that. It's like trying to describe a beautiful piece of music by only measuring how loud it is. You're completely missing the melody. So let's explore a new metric, one that's actually designed to capture all that complexity. It is definitely time to look beyond GDP and find a much better way to understand what well-being is all about. To even build this new metric, we have to start with a really fundamental principle of how life itself works. Turns out, all of life, from the tiniest cell to the biggest society, is built on one thing: creating order by drawing lines and making distinctions. Now, the scientific term for this is broken symmetries. That sounds super academic, I know, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It's all about creating a boundary that separates an inside from an outside. A cell membrane does exactly this. It creates a self-contained inside for the cell that's totally distinct from the world around it. And that simple act of division, that is what allows all of life's incredible complexity to happen. And this isn't just about biology, not at all. It's a pattern that just repeats itself at every single scale. The planet formed a surface, creating a boundary. Cells got their membranes. Organisms like us developed skin. And then, as humans, we started creating boundaries you can't even see, the family unit, and those shared beliefs and stories that we call culture. Each one of these steps creates a whole new layer of organization. So for our purposes, we're going to focus on the 3 boundaries that are most important for human life. First, our own skin, which separates ourself from everyone else. Second, the family, separating our kin group from others. And third, culture, which separates our in-group from outsiders. These 3 boundaries basically structure our entire world. Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. It's about how our attention and our energy get split up across these boundaries. We don't just exist inside them. We're constantly looking both inward to take care of the group and outward to deal with the world. And this dynamic creates 6 distinct layers of our attention. Okay, first up, the boundary of our own skin. When we look inward, we're focused on our personal needs, hunger, safety, that sort of thing. But when we look outward, our focus shifts to other people. That could be collaboration, competition, friendship, you name it. So right there, that's our first 2 layers. The second boundary is our family. Our inward attention here goes to things like raising kids and caring for our relatives. But looking outward, we connect with our wider community. We're building our social standing, maybe helping our neighbors. And boom, those are layers 3 and 4. And that third boundary is culture. We look inward to strengthen our in-group, our us, through things like shared religion or rooting for the same sports team. And we look outward when we focus on personal growth, like learning a new skill for our job or building a business. And that completes our 6 layers of attention. Now, all of that juggling, balancing our attention across these 6 different layers, that is the fundamental work of being human. The researchers have a great name for it: correlation buffering. Just think of it as the constant, active stuff we all have to do to maintain our connections to ourselves, to our families, and to our culture. Okay, so we have this really cool, kind of complex framework. But how in the world do we turn that into a number we can actually use to measure a community's health? This is where we define the core concept. It's called task layer multiplicity, or TLM for short. It's basically a score that measures how many of these 6 attention layers a person or even a whole community is actively involved in. You can think of it as a measure of our behavioral diversity. So if there are 6 possible layers, you're probably thinking the ideal score is a perfect 6, right?
You might assume that a healthy person or thriving community has to be firing on all 6 cylinders all the time. But is that what the data actually says?
The answer is so fascinatingly specific. The research points to a sweet spot not of 6, but of around 4.25. Now, what does that mean? It suggests that we thrive not by trying to do everything all at once, but by maintaining this robust, diverse, yet focused portfolio of about 4 of these layers. We're meant to be generalists, but not infinite generalists.
And this gives us this brilliant way to actually visualize a community's health. Imagine every single person is a unique colored dot. We can map where they're spending their time and attention across those 6 layers. A healthy community with a high TLM score looks like a vibrant, colorful, spread out cloud of dots. An unhealthy community, that's one where all the dots are just clumped together, focused on only 1 or 2 layers. Like maybe everyone is just focused on basic survival or just on their job.
So why does having a new number, like TLM, really matter? Well, because it gives us a completely different lens to see the world through and to make decisions about where we go from here. Let's just put it head to head with GDP. When a factory closes down, GDP tells us one thing: we lost economic activity. But TLM can tell us so much more. It can show us that we also lost community connections, we lost opportunities for professional development, maybe even family stability went down the drain. It gives us this holistic damage assessment that GDP just completely ignores. So what this model really proves is that resilience isn't about everyone being the same. A strong community is a lot like a healthy ecosystem. It needs a rich mix of people. It needs specialists and generalists because that variety is exactly what makes it adaptable and strong. But this diversity is fragile, and the source material offers a pretty chilling warning about the forces that can threaten it. It says that when demagogues pop up, they are evidence of pressure to toss out one layer or another of our social organization. And when that pressure actually works, that vibrant dot cloud of human activity, it starts to collapse inward. The community loses its rich complexity. It becomes brittle, uniform, and dangerously vulnerable to whatever shock comes next. So this leaves us with a final question to think about, not just for our communities, but for ourselves. In a world that is always pushing us towards hyper-specialization, to focus only on our career or only on a single identity, how do we consciously work to nurture and balance the different layers of our own lives? What do you think your own multiplicity score looks like?